G'day world, Craig from Vinegar Hydroblasting back on the dial. It's been a while. I've been away on holidays over in Laos and I'm back. I've been busy with the hydroblasting. Bit of spare time on my hands today, so I'm going to make a fly cutter for my mill for an upcoming project I've got. I'll give you a look at the bits and we'll make a start. Here's the raw materials we're going to use here. I reckon with those bits there, that little lathe over there, and that mill over there, we've got enough to make a nice little fly cutter out of this. First thing we're going to do, we've got a piece of 25mm square bar here. We've got to turn that down to 12mm. Unfortunately, I don't have any smaller bar, so that's it. A bit of machining in that, but it'll be a bit of good fun. Anyway, we'll pop it up there and I'll give you a look at it when it's going. I just chucked a square bar in there. We'll do this up. This is a no plans build, so all the plans are in my head. So at this stage, first port of call is to get that down to its 12mm or thereabouts. Righto, I've got this big face mask thing here on. Let's kick it in the guts and give it a whirl. Well, there we go, that's 0.01mm under 12mm. What I'm going to do is pull this out of the vise, deburr that. Okay, back over here on the mill. I've had a bit of a think about this, and plan B, 15mm is the height I'm going to go for with that. So we'll knock that down to size now, and then have a look at the next step. There we go, that's 14.98 on that. That's pretty close. That'll do me. Let's pull it out and deburr it and move on to the next step. Okay, here's what I've come up with. That cutting tip there is going to sit on there like that. This is going to be mounted at, I reckon, 10 degrees. 10 degrees. So that's going to be on a bit of an angle like that from the main body, and I want this edge here of the cutting tip to be perpendicular. So if I'm going to make that angle there 10 degrees, I'm going to make that 10 degrees, and that will yeah, we'll have that edge of the cutting tip perpendicular, and it's going to sit about there somewhere. So what I'll do now is I'll just machine the end of that off at 10 degrees. Got to be a little bit careful here because of the way this thing spins. You've got to make sure that you put it in the right spot before you start machining stuff. So I might put a bit of texture mark on there, but anyway, we'll stick that in and we'll knock 10 degrees off that. There we go, got that back in the vise, set that at 80 degrees. So that gives me 10 degrees there, which is what I want. And look at me go, doing all this with a 2-inch face mill. Hey. It's the only cutter I've got that's got carbide tips in it, so make the most of it. Well, there we are, that's machined at 10 degrees. What I'll do while I've got this thing here is I'll spin it round and just neaten up the other end and make that at right angles. Well, that's how I want my carbide tip to sit on that tool holder. So what I've done here is I've loosened off my vise. I've marked a little spot on here. I'm gonna, as you can see, there's a slight run out this way of 10 degrees. So if I move this vise 10 degrees here, so if I bring it round to about there, that'll put that edge at right angles, And if I spin it round another 30 degrees, that should put that line running parallel with the cutter in the mill. So about there, I reckon. How's that look? Oh, spot on. Anyway, we'll clamp that up, we'll move this in, and we'll put an end mill in there and we'll machine that off. Well, there we are with an end mill mounted in the mill. The height of that tip is 4mm, so I'm going to make a 4mm cut in here for that to sit down flush with that. So what I'll do is I'll move across, I'll touch this end mill off, and then I'll drop it 4mm, and I'll make a few different cuts across there until that is sitting where I think it looks right. Let's go. We'll have a look at that. I reckon that's getting close to where we want it. I think just a fraction more to make sure I've got room to drill and tap a hole in that. Early burly, that looks as though everything's gone to plan. Righto, we'll work out how we're going to drill a hole in that now. Well, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'll put a dead centre in there, and I'm going to bring that down here, and I'm going to manoeuvre that in the guts of that tungsten tip to where I want it, and that's where I'm going to drill the hole. Bit rough, but that's the way we roll. Here we go. I'm going to zero the DRO at that, and we're going to drill a hole there. Okay, what I've got to do is I've got to put a 3.5mm thread in there, so I'm going to use a 2.9mm tapping drill. This centre drill, it's just narrower than that on the tip, so I'm just going to put a mark there, not go into any of that chamfer on the centre drill, but just mark it and then go straight to the tapping drill, and then we'll pull it out and we'll tap a thread in it. Righto, that'll do that. We'll swap drills now. We might just speed that up a bit too, I think. Oh no, it's all right. Righto, we'll take that out. We'll take it over to the vise and we'll tap a thread in that. All right, got my little 3.5 tapered tap here. We'll start with this. We're going to go very, very slowly and hope we don't bust the bastard. That's going in beautifully. And I drilled that hole straight through, so we're not got to anything to worry about that tap bottoming out on anything. We can just run that straight through. Righto, we'll blow that out. We'll stick the tip on and we'll stick a screw in that and see if it works. Okay, now for the big test. We'll stick that on there. We've got this little screw here, 3.5mm. That hole looks like it's even in the right spot. We'll poke that in there. So far so good. There we go. Have a look at that. Nice and flush there. What we're going to do with that now is we're going to hydroblast this piece and we're going to stick it in the zinc plating bath, and we're going to give it a coat of zinc just to protect it from rusting. So now we put this in the blasting cabinet and we give that a blast, make it nice and clean and give it a nice uniform finish. And that's it there. After it's come out of the hydroblasting cabinet, it's got a wire on it. We'll take that over to the plating bath now. We'll give the part a quick dip in some warm degreaser. Rinse that off. We'll take it down here and we'll dunk it in this acid pickle. That's about 5% hydrochloric acid. We'll just give it a couple of seconds in there. We'll get rid of the acid off that in some water. And then we'll hang it up here in the plating bath. Okay, that's in there. I've checked I've measured the area and we'll set that to 1.2 amps. That thing's probably flickering and carrying on in the camera. It's a bit all over the place. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. It's running about where I want it. We'll give that about 15 minutes in there and come back to it. All right, that's been 15 minutes in there. Let's pull it out and have a look. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Righto, that'd be nice just as it is, but we're going to turn it a nice gold colour to match the tungsten tip we're putting in it. So we'll rinse that plating solution off. We'll stick it down here and back in this acid pickle for about 5 seconds. We'll whip that out of there and rinse it off. And then we'll swish it around in this yellow cordial. And we'll give it about 40 seconds in there, I reckon. All right, there we go. That's had 40 seconds in there. That's a nice yellow colour. We'll rinse that stuff off. You don't want to touch that shit. That's bad darts, that stuff. Anyway, in there, rinse the chromate off. That's going to make it that nice gold colour, and it's going to harden the chromate as it's going to harden the zinc as well. So we'll leave that overnight. We'll come back to that tomorrow morning, and I think we'll make the other half tomorrow. We'll hang that up to dry. That looks all right, doesn't it? We do shit hot and shiny and sexual here. And there it is again with the gold tip in place. That's looking just like I bought one, isn't it? Well guys, it's another day. Today we're going to have a crack at making the body of this fly cutter. So what I'm going to do is, got a lump of 2-inch round here. I'm going to machine one end of it down to 20mm in diameter, to about maybe 40mm in length. That's going to go in my 20mm collet chuck. So we'll chuck that in the lathe and we'll turn that down. Then we'll just knock the edge off that, face that up, and then we'll put it in the mill. and have a go at it in there. And there's that bit out of the lathe. We've turned that down. That's about 0.015 of a millimetre bigger than 20 mil. That's close enough for me. That's the 20 mil collet that's going on it. Absolute beautiful fit, that. So what we'll do now is I'll put that back in the lathe. I'll probably knock about 1/4 of an inch off the length of it, and I'll take a skim off the outside. And once that's done, we'll chuck it in the mill and we'll start machining some bits so we can put this bit in. And that's that blank out of the lathe. We've machined that down, taken a little bit off there, and we've knocked a bit off there. It's probably still a bit too long, but when you fly by the seat of your pants without plans, that sort of stuff happens. It's not going to affect the operation of it. So we'll take that over to the mill now, and we'll set it up and cut a taper on it. And before we do anything else, we better straighten this vise up and tram it back in. There we go, and just like that, it's good enough. Within about 0.01 of a mil or thereabouts, so we'll be happy with that. Well, here we are set up in the mill vise. We're a bit light on tools here. We've got no small V-blocks, so I must make some of those. But I've set that at 10 degrees, and we're going to knock it off with this 45mm face mill. So we'll have to do a couple of passes over that. But we want to cut an angle there. Now, it's going to do your head in thinking about this when you're setting this up, because you've got to work out where this is going to be and what angle it is and which way it is. So I've got to cut the slot on that side and then take a piece off this side for the retaining screws. So hopefully I've got it set right, and we'll get into it now. Right, I've got that done up really tight in the vise because I've got no V-blocks. Let's fire this thing up and we'll knock the top off that. Well, there we go. I've finished facing the top of that off at 10 degrees. Now we've got to put a 12mm slot in it. Now, this edge here has to be on that centre line and over that side. So I'll put a 10mm end mill in, and we'll machine a slot on centre, and then we'll widen it up to 12mm as we go. So we'll just swap the tools over, and we'll make a start on that. Well, I've used the edge finder on both edges, so I found the centre of that. I'll now stick a 10mm end mill in here and set it so that this edge of the end mill is on the centre line there, and we'll machine a slot down in there, the width of that cutter. Just a fraction shy of 12.01mm, that. So we'll move that cutter across that way 2.01mm and see how it looks. Right, I've moved that cutter across 2.01mm. Now we'll run it back. That's going to fit in there. We've got a little bit of play there, but we might just narrow that up a little bit on the next cuts, and but that'll do us. Let's keep going. Well, there we are. I've just run a slightly narrower cut through there, and that is fitting in there. Oh, very, very nice. No movement in that at all. Probably, perhaps a little too tight. We might just have to knock a thou or two off that when I'm down to depth so that it slides in there easily. Anyway, we'll drop that down to whatever that distance was, about 15 mil or 16 mil. Anyway, I'll keep going. Well, there we go, folks. We've got a slot cut in that. That sits down in there nicely. That sits a little bit proud. That's how I wanted it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to knock the side out of this so we can put some set screws in there to keep that nice and tight in there. And we'll probably make that step, we'll probably make that about 8 mil so that I've got about 8 threads going through it. Okay, we'll take this out of there. We'll move this across and we'll knock the side off it. And there we go, there's that slot cut in the side. What I'll do now is I'm going to pull that out of the vise and I'm going to thoroughly deburr it, and then we're going to mark it out and we're going to drill 3 holes in the side there for the set screws. So we'll whip that out there now and deburr it and go from there. There's that piece there out of the mill. I've deburred that with a file, cut all the nasty cutty bastards off it, and that bit there slots in there like that. We're going to have to drill and tap some holes in here to put these 6mm set screws in, and they don't have to be super accurate, so we'll just mark them out, centre drill them and tap them. So let's mark it out and take it back over to the mill. Well, I've marked those holes on there, centre popped them. I'm not even going to bother with the centre drill. I'll just run the 5mm tapping drill straight through them, and then we'll tap them. Righto, we'll find me 6mm tap and we'll get this happening. Okay, we'll just run a tapered tap through those to start them, and then we'll run a plug tap through them. Not quite in a straight line, those holes, but they'll look all right from across the road. Probably no reason to run a plug tap through those, but I'll humour myself and do it anyway. Yeah, no, that went straight through. Right, we'll just deburr those, and that's all the machining done. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up my zinc plating kit, and I'm going to hydroblast this, and I'm going to put a nice coat of yellow or gold zinc on that. And while I'm at it, I'll probably redo that. That was a bit thin, that, so we'll do that one again at the same time. But that's starting to come together nicely. Well, we'll pop this over here in the hydroblasting cabinet, and we'll make that thing spotless and give it a nice uniform finish before we put it in the electroplating bath. And there it is after a minute or two in the hydroblasting cabinet. That's nice and clean. We'll chuck a wire on that and we'll chuck it in the plating bath. We might give it about 30 minutes in there, I reckon. Righto, here we are over here. Could do with 3 hands when you're doing this. We stick this in the hot degreaser bath, give it a swish. It's pretty clean because it's been in the hydroblast cabinet, so there's shouldn't be anything on it. But better to be safe than sorry. We'll rinse that off there. We'll give it a quick dunk down here in the acid pickle, just to be sure. Rinse that acid off. About time we'll change that that rinse bucket water. Been there for a while, turning green. Righto, we'll put it up here in the plating solution. Shit. I'm going to put the camera down and I'll show you in a minute. There we go, there it is in the plating solution. Rather heavy that, so I had to put a clip on the wire to stop it falling in. Anyhow, I'm going to set that to about 3.5 amps. Fair bit of surface area on that. So, just guessing, but that'll do. And I reckon we'll give it 25-30 minutes when we get it there we go, that looks close enough. 3.6 amps. While the main body of that fly cutter's over there in the plating solution, I'm going to trim these bolts down to about 12mm in length, and we'll stick them in the vise, cut them off with a hacksaw, then grind the ends up flat, and by the time I'm finished there, the plating should be done. Righto, it's been in the zinc plating bath for a while. Let's lift her up and have a look and see how it's looking. Oh yeah, that's looking nice. Missed a little bit on the inside in there, but that can't be helped. But anyway, I'll put this camera down and we'll clean it off and dunk it in the chromate. Righto, a quick rinse in there to get any leftover solution off it. We'll give it a few seconds down here in the acid. We'll give it a few seconds in here to rinse the acid off it. And I'll swish it around in the gold chromate for about 40 seconds. Righto, we'll whip it out of there. Look at that, that's looking nice, isn't it? We'll rinse that off. I can't tell you enough how dangerous that shit is, so don't get it on you and try not to breathe it in. We'll rinse all that stuff off. There we go. I'm going to take that over, give it a blow off with compressed air, and then I'm going to hang it up overnight to dry. And what the hell, I'm going to do that cutting tool again as well. And right there, folks, is our finished product, made in Australia. That's looking very nice with its zinc plating, gold chromate finish. I know it's not the ideal finish to put on machine tools, but it'll do for now. Anyway, we might try that out. I've got a piece of old scrap here that's been used as a welding test piece. It's got a bit of a woof in it. We might knock that weld off with the face cutter, and then we might try the fly cutter and see if we can make that piece of crap into a usable bit of metal. Well guys, here's the moment of truth. There's that bit of aluminium in the vise. I've run a face cutter across there a couple of times and skimmed most of that remaining weld off. It's got a bit of a woof in it, so it might not necessarily get it first time. But let's turn it on, wind it down, and we'll see how this thing works. There we go, that's come up quite nice. There's a couple of little blemishes where there's some filler rod residue by the look of things from the welding. We might take another very light skim over the top of that and see how it comes out, but I'm really happy with the surface finish that's giving. That there, guys, is the that I achieved on the welded side of that plate. You can still see and feel some little imperfections there where the weld is, and if you, I don't know, you probably can't see, but if we turn that in the light, you can probably see where the welds were. But I trimmed up the other side, so I've got a nice flat piece of aluminium that I can use for something else now, and that surface has come up beautiful, so we're happy with this. Well folks, video was a bit longer today than normal, but that there is a fly cutter made in Bendigo, Australia. No money going to China for this one. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you get bored and you want to watch something else, check out one of those two videos, and hit the like button. That'll give me a chubby. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you then.